right, so at this point, you have gone from a small little boutique brand to a full-fledged direct-to-consumer bike brand with your first gravel bike, and it's going well enough. But of course, well enough isn't really the Lauf DNA, I don't think. So
Gotta keep building.
you're looking at this and you're like, well, let's change the bike. Let's do a new gravel bike.
Yep.
And then the Seigla was born. So what was that thought process like? Why take this thing that's doing well for you and change it? Kind of like, I don't know, early in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think probably through all these changes that we went through, we probably gained some confidence sort of in ourselves, confidence to sort of do exactly what we want to do rather than conforming a little bit. I mean, although our fork isn't actually
it's not exactly normal.
Not exactly the perfect example of something conforming to tradition. But with the True Grit, we were a little. I mean, okay, we did our own geometry on the bike, so that was a relatively new thing. But with some things, we only went half in. So I mean, as everybody knows, we don't like front derailleurs on gravel bikes, and we've never liked them on gravel bikes. So immediately when we were riding the first gravel bikes from other brands fitted with our forks way back, we this shouldn't have a front derailleur. It's just on gravel, it makes no sense. I mean, tighter cassettes and whatever. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, just want simplicity on a gravel bike and just keep pedaling. But with the True Grit, we didn't really have the courage sort of to say hey, no front derailleur on this thing. Just but we went half in, so there was no routing to it. The only way to do a front derailleur on it was a wireless, an E-tap front derailleur. So you could do that, but then we threw in a joke there. So we on all our bikes were pretty much sold with a 1-bike drivetrain. But where you mount the front derailleur, we had a bottle opener, and
which is super fitting, right?
Yeah,
people
exactly.
that haven't had the chance to hang out with you guys.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of beer drinking that goes on when we hang out.
And
to us, it's a handy add-on.
Yeah, although it's a really bad.
It's a weird
bottle
angle.
opener though. You pour beer over your bottom bracket. I don't know. Yeah, how good that is, but to us, I don't know if the joke is really if it gets across to people the entire joke, sort of the entire joke is that it's so stupid to have front derailleurs on gravel bikes that it's even better to have a really bad bottle opener there. So it's that
the
bad.
The lesser of two evils.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather spill a little beer than have a front derailleur.
Yeah, it's this is stupid, but I mean, you should see some people. They have a front derailleur there. It's so that was sort of the joke. But I mean, but half-assed joke. So I mean, we still wanted to keep this compatibility with front derailleurs for those who want it. So it's that, and then I think so on the True Grit where we didn't go all in, it was that, and then rear compliance, we didn't want to rock the boat too much at that time. We wanted to make a bike that was to a degree conventional, because people were still trying to swallow our forks at the time, we thought. So we didn't really go all in. So the rest of the
bike should be familiar enough that they're not questioning that also.
Exactly. You don't want to slice the customer base and then re-slice it sort of you don't want to over-define sort of, So, but then as we gained confidence, I think, as a company, and as the fork was normalized more and more, we were able to go all in on Seigla. So on Seigla, I like to think that Seigla is the bike that many bike companies want to make, but their accountants have been blocking them sort of, because it's ditching a lot of things. So there are no mounts for any bags. So that means in some bike companies, accountants are going to say, hey, then we lose this percentage of sales. So we can't do that. You got to keep those mounts on. But we don't care about that. We just want to make a good bike for someone, a really focused bike. So we skip that. And then the big thing for us was to, I mean, if you rewind and go back to our roots were this Blue Lagoon Challenge gravel race in Iceland that is cross country / gravel. And like in that race, people had like figured out that the fastest tires were like, substantially wider than what most people were riding on gravel. So, but when we were like doing the Seigla, to a lot of people, like super wide gravel tires were just for like monster cross and like bike touring or whatever. But to us, like big gravel tires are like fast, they're faster. So we wanted to make like a focused bike on that, like, on those routes of ours, like taking gravel slightly further into like XC territory, sort of like to get that tire clearance. But to do that, we had to like say no to a lot of things, because like we wanted to keep the same like geometry as the True Grit that it was like loved so much for, like the short chain stays and all that, and like the quick handling resulting from that. But yeah, that paired with a stable fork and low fit. But then, the real challenge became, how do you squeeze the tire into the rear end of the bike with those short chainstays?
And how big did you want to go?
So like at least 2 inches, so 50 mil.
About 50 mil.
Yeah, at least. But then the thing is, we wanted to design it like safely above that, because like you want to have like ample room for like mud and stuff. So we designed it like around. We figured out we were able to go up to like 57 millimeter tire clearance, which means, you can fit like a 2.2 inch tire, which is good, like the same as 57. But like even more importantly for us, was the fact that you could actually like ride 50s with proper space around them. So in my opinion, like bikes that are like claimed to fit 50 millimeter tires, yes, they fit them, but they would benefit from a little bit more space. So that was basically what we were going for with the Seigla, to fit 50 mil tires with plenty of space. But to do that meant that we had to say like no to a lot of things. So what we had to do that like I think no big bike company would be able to do was that we had to make it pretty much only SRAM compatible, because the cranks. So basically, we were able to work with SRAM. So they made like special edition of their cranks, like wide axle. Yeah, it's offered to everybody now, but it wasn't available in the red level at the time. So they helped us by making that, adding that to the line. So
because you're using a wider bottom bracket shell than road or gravel.
Yeah,
you're basically using a mountain bike bottom bracket width
with a road crank, sort of. So like the Q factor, like the paddles, like the space between those is pretty much same as on the road bike. I mean, 5 mil away from that, it's pretty much the same. But like the bottom bracket is like the mountain bike one. So you get like the chain ring is pushed slightly further out. And this was basically like, one of those like sort of like all-in moments. Like I was thinking like, okay, if we approach gravel bikes with a clean slate, like why would anyone put like a 68 millimeter wide bottom bracket on it rather than a 73? It makes like, I mean, there's no benefit. It's only like road bike tradition, like keeping us with a 68. So we're like, let's make it a 73, because that means we can gain 5 more millimeters in tire space. So basically going with that decision of doing wide axle SRAM cranks only took us from like 52 mil clearance up to 57 at the short chainstay length we had from the True Grit. So we did that. And then it's a 1-ply only. So like skipping like the inner, not reserving space for an inner chain ring basically means that you can like push the chainstays out this like a little bit further. Now, like 5 millimeters or so of tire clearance you get from that fact, just skipping like the front derailleur, like, or the space for the inner chain ring. We do that. So there's no chance to mount like 2-by on it, because there's just no space for the chain ring. And you can only run it with wide axle SRAM cranks, which is fine for us, because I mean, then we just spec those cranks and everybody's happy. So, but it means you cannot do like, for example, like SRAM or Campanolo cranks.
Shimano or
Shimano and Campanolo cranks on it, which is, I mean, and they make great groups as well, but it's just like, I mean, SRAM, we like working with SRAM, and it's all you need, sort of. You can only fit one drivetrain to your bike. So
like it or not. But I think that's, like you and I were talking the other night at dinner, and I really love the way you phrased it, where it's like when you get to a certain point, when a company gets certain big, right? When you go from playing offense to defense is when you start getting into trouble, right? And you guys are firmly in the camp of playing offense with this and pushing. But I think it's, being able to build the bike that you want to build is clearly working for you, but also it's kind of like, you're a cyclist, right? Like if you build a bike that's going to do really, really well riding the same kind of thing that everybody else loves riding, chances are there's going to be enough other people out there that also enjoy that bike, right? And I think when you can share the story of why you're doing what you're doing, people are going to, they're either going to like it or not, right? Like,
exactly.
And when you have to build that bike for everybody is when you start making these compromises. But
exactly. So I want our bikes to always to say something. It's like, it's like, let's say with music, nobody sort of cares for musicians that are maybe like really, really good at playing music. But if they don't have if there's no message in it, if they aren't moving the game forward, if they aren't doing anything new, that like interesting sort of, nobody sort of cares. You need to be like pushing the game forward somehow and like making decisions, like saying no to some things and focusing on other things and doing new stuff. It's all about, it's a culture thing, of course. It's a little bit like music, so you have to like add something to the picture. Like to me, that's like, you can make like a good bike just by doing it like skillfully. And just make a good bike that rides well and all that. But what's really interesting is making something that like does something that hasn't been done before, sort of like find new territory, sort of.
All right. So we should talk about the fact that it's not routed for a dropper seat post. And I know you have your reasons, though. So let's hear your reasons because there is a fun little fact about that. But
so that was like, so we knew all this like with a crank and all that to make space for tires. That was like, one of those things. When I like said it, you couldn't take it back. It was just like, it was obvious we had to do that because it would like, we were like, shit, it's gonna be crazy. We can do a gravel bike with like a fast gravel geometry. We can fit like 2.2-inch tires in the back.
And you also, speaking of the wheels and tires, you also basically said 700C only. None of this 650B nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. Which other people like that or whatever. We just thought we liked the rollover of 700C better than 650B. So that was it basically. With the on the crank and wheels, that was a given, like how we would do that, and like the rear compliance. We'll get to that later. But like the dropper post, we're a little bit like torn on that one because like to me it's like I think dropper posts shouldn't be on gravel bikes in general because they make them heavier, like more complicated, and they tend to break eventually if you like don't maintain them and all that. It's just like they add complexity to something that is just so nice when it's like this pure light gravel bike. So, but at the same time we knew a lot of people like adding dropper posts to the gravel bikes. So we were like, should we give in here or not? Or we're like, should we add routing? But then like SRAM at that, like when we were basically just like at the drawing board, like should we add that port or not, sort of. And then we got like the information from SRAM that they were coming out with their wireless dropper posts. And then we're just like, okay, done. Yeah. That's how you do a dropper post on it if you want. Yeah. Basically. But so, and then like you can technically find,
which is what I love about it, because like every other brand I've ever talked to has said, if you drill a hole in the frame, warranty's void, good luck, we can't confirm anything. And you guys will actually say, okay, if you really want to route a dropper, a wired dropper, do it like this. And you will tell them how to do it, which I think is fantastic. I'm not sure what your lawyers think of that, but
no, it's completely fine. So you're not drilling through any like structural. So you're drilling actually through like the tunnel that is already there to route like to the rear derailleur. So when not using a rear derailleur, you use that tunnel and like drill into it, and it's not serving like a mechanical like purpose, sort of. So it's okay. So it's
And so where is the port for that? Because there's one port for a rear brake hose.
There, next to the brake hose port, so 2 ports there. So rear derailleur port there. Yeah, so you can use that.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the rear compliance, because one of the big design changes on the Seigla from the TrueGate was the dropped seat stays, which I think looks much better as
Yeah,
well.
it looks faster because like people associate it with aero, and aero is cool. That's fast. Fast is cool. Fast, yeah. So it looks good. Yeah. So I mean, so it strikes people as like an aero feature, but it isn't. That's not the purpose of it. Not on our bike. So the purpose is basically what we do differently when we drop our seat stays to like how other bike companies do it is that we have like a super skinny connection of the top tube to the seat tube. So, and this like skinny connection becomes a pivot, sort of. So like if we had like an integrated seat clamp in there, that would like, then we need to like bulk up the intersection of the top tube and the seat tube. Then you need to bulk it up to fit like the wedge and all that into there. And that would sort of like lock in that joint. Then it couldn't like rotate anymore, sort of. But when you have like a super skinny top tube meeting the seat tube, that becomes like a what's it called, a living hinge, sort of. So what happens like when we drop our seat stays is that the force like of the rear tire, like from the impact, gets like channeled up through the center portion basically of the seat tube, and it like and sort of like bends it. It bends it like.
Yeah, so
inwards.
the seat stays are kind of applying this almost like forward force into the seat tube.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the weight of you at the top of the seat sort of wants to bend it backwards, and you create like almost like a pivot, like a fulcrum sort of.
It's like, I mean, it's like Trek's ISO-speed, like how they did it like in the beginning, just like with the pivot, with the meat. We're doing that,
or
just
like
without the pivot.
Diverge essentially. Like there's a lot of people now creating intentional flex into the seat tube, seat post.
Yeah.
Cluster.
So like, exactly. So we found out. I mean, then you have like the Cannondale Kingpin, similar concept, but then they add like a bushing or a bearing there.
Yeah, there's a physical pivot.
Yeah, physical pivot, which we don't see the logic behind that, because like there is like sort of like there's almost no rotation going on like there where the seat stays meet the seat tube. So like without adding any like pivots or any like hardware to the frame. So we were able to get compliance in the Seigla frame that is it's on par with the bikes that actually have like a pivot, let's say a Trek ISO-speed. You have Geotech the same compliance in the rear as a Trek ISO-speed, but no maintenance and like nothing to wear out and not the extra weight of that system either. So we were like, I think a lot of times I think it goes like unnoticed because it's just a shape and it doesn't really scream at you like, hey, I'm
special.
I'm special. I'm giving you like rear compliance, but it's like it's really when you like put weight on the saddle, you can really see it like flex. You get like even like when you hit like let's say a pothole or something when you're riding the bike, you get like 10 millimeters or more like from the saddle. So it's substantial.
And is that all done through carbon, or because you use the S2 fibers not just in your fork springs but also a little bit in your handlebar?
Yeah, we use them. So. The rear compliance is all carbon, so there's no glass fiber involved there. So we were able to get that function from carbon without going into glass, because glass would make it slightly heavier and actually at some point you don't want more function, then it becomes just like weird. So you gotta strike that like happy medium. And to us, we get like enough compliance by using standard modulus carbon in the frame. But then the handlebar, that's another thing. There, I mean, we were like, hey, I mean, everybody's like talking about like finding ways to introduce like front compliance into their bikes, and people are like doing it in their forks or stems or steer tubes or whatever, while like everybody's like omitting like the obvious like springboard you have in the system, which is like the top of the handlebar. I mean, the straight portion of your handlebar. That's like that's a beam that can actually like flex up and down, while like the fork is never gonna like compress like axially. I mean, it's like the column of the fork is never going to compress, so you're not going to get any like meaningful compliance out of your fork unless just like the front and back part, which doesn't really help you that much. It's just like
for typical forks.
For normal forks.
Clearly,
normal rigid forks. So with the handlebar, basically we decided, hey, like let's make the top part here out of S-glass fiber. So while the drops are carbon, the center portion, I think this is a thing a lot of people probably aren't fully aware of, because it just looks normal, sort of the bar, but like the top part is all glass fiber, so you get like double the flex in this bar that you would get from a carbon bar. which is like it's a real thing. I mean, when you hit like a pothole, it's like it's measured like it's several millimeters sort of. So it's like you can know that you can push on the bar and you can see it like flex a little bit.